Good afternoon to everybody. Like I said, we'll give it just a couple more minutes. We've got some people still popping on here. All right, we will go ahead and get rolling. If you guys have any questions during today's webinar, please feel free to go ahead and pop them down in the chat. We'll answer them occasionally as we go along. I'll probably also be asking some questions and giving people an opportunity to interact throughout today's webinar. Really appreciate you guys hopping on today. We've got a webinar here between Quantum and MSP Tag, which is an advisor group for managed service providers throughout the United States. And we are the preferred sales resource for that group. So that's what has us joining today. Want to go ahead and talk about how do we build a super powerful pipeline? What are some of the tactics, techniques, processes that we can go through to grow our businesses quickly and efficiently? Why am I the person to talk to you about this? Well, as a prior CEO in the technology space and a senior VP of sales, I've been in your shoes as an independent producer, sales leader, and also as a CEO. So I've struggled to hire the right people. How do we train and develop them? Inefficiency, lack of execution, missed quotas, and changes in sales technologies as we evolve. With that in mind, what I wanted to do is create an organization that would help other leaders and sales professionals ultimately maximize the potential that's in front of them in the most effective and efficient way possible. So what can you expect today? We're going to talk about how to create your sales cycle, determine your ideal client profile and target accounts, and then how do we ultimately go after them? So we talk about 5 key areas in the quantum growth model, which are target, attract, nurture, convert, and wow. And then ultimately we want to systemize, optimize, and automate those pieces of the puzzle to bring the most velocity to your rev gen process. So we call it the modern rev gen machine. These 5 steps work in unison, and you notice it's on a flywheel and not a funnel. That's on purpose. We are a HubSpot partner, and we believe in the concept of the flywheel, and ultimately, how do we create a frictionless sales process? With that in mind, as we go through our 5 steps as an organization of target, attract, nurture, convert, and wow, what is that buyer going through? Well, they're going through the awareness stage, the consideration stage, decision, conversion, and ultimately execution. So we're targeting to bring awareness, attracting to bring consideration, nurturing to bring decision, converting obviously to bring the conversion, and then wowing during the ongoing execution of our products and services as organizations. So the first thing we're going to talk about is who to target and how to target them. This is the first step in the quantum growth model, but also in the buyer's journey. We really need to bring awareness to our ideal client profile and our buyer personas. And in order to do that, we need to decide and identify who is actually our ideal client profile. So it's commonly referred to as the ideal buyer profile, but ultimately what it is what's the perfect client that you can help the most with your solution. They're going to value you, pay you well, and build a relationship that can turn into repeat, referral, or cross-sold business later on down the line when we're wowing them in the execution phase. Within your ICP, we talk a lot about buyer persona. So as an example for us being a sales organization, We're looking at CEOs. We've got sales decision makers, right? Sales leaders. In some cases, because of our automation softwares, we might have a technology decision maker. We would have a financial decision maker potentially, independent producers, marketing, right? You can kind of go on with it. But the reason the personas are so important is as we move to that next phase in the attraction, the ability to segment our marketing approach and our message and then push that through the rest of the quantum growth model is super important. And that comes from the buyer persona. So if we want to look at things like we are looking for an organization that is this size in this industry, and we want to send a message to the CFO, we want that to be targeted at the exact things that are going to grab their attention and that buyer persona is going to be able to ultimately relate to and base a decision of beginning consideration upon. Talked a little bit about that. First thing we talk about when it comes to prospecting after we've identified our ICP and our buyer personas is let's start to build the list of lists. So where can we prospect from? Well, we've got our current customers, we've got prospects we've previously had, but we can start to look at LinkedIn Sales Navigator lists, we can purchase lists, who are our referrals, our power base, which is anyone we know and anyone they know. We can do things like data enrichment lists through ZoomInfo, Seamless AI, chambers, mailing lists, group lists, GPOs, if you were in the technology space. If you've got a certain product that you work really well with or suite, okay, then who's everyone that maybe has Microsoft Office already, but you guys know some way to make them actually more effective with a product they've already purchased. So if you can figure that out, that would be a really good list, right? Based on maybe an industry or a niche. So listing all of the lists would be a step that's super important, and try to get to 20 or 30 lists. And then from there, we talk about data. One of the biggest issues in most organizations right now is the lack of data. So things like if we don't have their personal cell phone number and their email address, our opportunity to connect is going to be much lower if we're only trying to call off of the professional office or company landline. So how do we enrich that data? How do we make sure that we keep increasing the velocity of our rev gen? Well, we go out and we team up with organizations like Seamless AI, ZoomInfo, there's Sales Intel, LinkedIn Sales Navigator might help us, but that list that's enriched is going to be really the backbone and the foundation of the rest of the process. All right, so with that being said, once we've actually created the list, we want to make sure that we're doing the best we can to keep all of our information up to date. So we use HubSpot, and a lot of that's automated because emails automatically go in there, LinkedIn automatically goes in there, phone calls are tracked automatically. These are some key components because as we keep finding out more about our customers, we want that information to automatically update because that's going to help us with our marketing segmentation and the next step of the process, which is going to be how do we attract them? Again, if our message speaks more specifically and personalized to that buyer persona and to that ideal client, it's going to give us a higher opportunity for engagement. All right, so some of the things that you may want to look for, I won't spend a lot of time on this, but the biggest one would be mobile phone numbers and email addresses. If you're trying to run a business today and you're not using something like ZoomInfo or Seamless AI to enrich your data, you're really missing out on opportunities and probably creating a lot of inefficiency in your rev gen process. So I would encourage you highly to leverage one of those. Use a tool like Never Bounce to verify enriched emails because you want to keep your email health super strong so you don't end up in spam. That can be a struggle for new organizations or organizations that maybe haven't warmed up their domain. So Never Bounce would be an important piece of this after you've enriched the data. We do have some other resources too. If you're interested in ZoomInfo or Seamless AI, we're partners with both. We want to bring the best solutions to the market and put them right on a platter for our potential clients and current clients. So let us know. Again, at any time, if you guys would like to book a meeting with me, there's this QR code right down here in the right-hand side of the slides. Scan that and you should be able to book a meeting directly with me. All right, so list segmentation. If there's a data cube, each person that you're trying to attract to you is somewhere in that cube, right? So you've got industry verticals, buyer personas, size of companies, competitive equipment that might be in there. What are the pieces that make up your cube? And then how do you find out where your customer is and attract them from the very spot they reside today, right? So we're not just trying to throw general stuff out at everybody. All right, how does HubSpot help with something like this? Well, sales and marketing, email automation, 48% of opportunities actually never get followed up on. So we've created a list, maybe we've made a first contact. How are we going to continue to try to attract and nurture them? Well, let's build systemized approaches to that. And a lot of that can be automated through something like a HubSpot. Clear to the point that we could say somebody clicked on a LinkedIn ad, it comes right in, goes right into an audience. We decide to send them a mass marketing email. They open that twice. Pretty soon they're over in the call queue. Sales reps calling and scheduling a meeting. And now you know they're warm. So the idea is we go out and we grab people who are maybe 70 or 80% through the buyer's journey, but they're not interested enough to click the contact me, I'm ready to buy right now button. And we rip them through and then we go outbound on them and we pull them in and schedule the meetings and ultimately keep moving them to the next level. One thing that'll be key to an attraction, if you're not using calendar links or calls to action that drag people back from all of your content, I think you're missing a huge opportunity. So as often as you can, with a social media post, direct messaging on LinkedIn, which can be automated, by the way, emails, text messages, make it super easy and frictionless for that person to book a meeting with you. Because just in that going back and forth about what time might work for a meeting, there's a certain loss of conversion rate that's going to happen there. So as we look at the KPIs, key performance indicators of RevGen, each of them has a conversion rate. And we want to continue to improve those and then ultimately turn it into predictable revenue. All right, connect and sell. This is going to allow you to have 8 to 10 times the conversation. So instead of every 90 minutes, every 4.5 minutes, we want you to be having a conversation with the right person. And what this does is you can really dial up to about 12 to 1,500 dials in a day. It's using AI. There's a human in between. You're sitting on a conference line. As soon as the right person picks up the phone, it drops onto you, and now you're having a conversation. So your salesperson's just sitting there waiting for you to, or excuse me, waiting for that decision maker to be on the phone, and then they're talking to them. And from that, based on outcomes, you can automate nurture sequences or attraction sequences as well from an email or social media standpoint. If you're interested in that, we've also partnered up with these guys. So love to let you take a 4-hour free test drive. They do that for businesses that we partner with. So let us know if you'd be interested in that. All right, so spend a little bit of time here, the first 10 to 15 minutes on how to target. Does anybody have any questions? Feel free to go ahead and drop them in the chat and I'll answer them now. All right, we'll go ahead and keep rolling here. How do we attract the ideal client and bring them in for consideration? Something to talk about right here on the front end is by 2025, 80% of B2B sales interactions are going to really occur in digital channels. If you think about the amount happening now between social media, emails, Zoom, we're all doing business with people we've probably never even met before in person. Not something we would have thought would happen in B2B 10 to 20 years ago, okay? So you have to shift that mindset. We have to really pull people in and get them further down the path of buying and along that buyer's journey before we engage them, right? Because the days of just going out and finding someone cold, those are definitely there, but let's make it easier on ourselves. Right? Let's create the best opportunity. So I always say, let's sell closest to the sun. Well, the first step in that, after you know who you want to go out and target, is to attract people to you. That comes through great content distribution. Are you posting everywhere? Are you becoming omnipresent, getting out of obscurity? Again, a lot of this can be automated and you can scale out faster than ever before. 70% of what sellers do today can be automated. So even if part of that attraction is as soon as there's a call outcome selected, at the end of a call, like they left a voicemail, we could trigger emails to be sent out that sent a welcome to our organization email, and then it could go through a workflow of content and information. We can schedule all of our social media posts for a month ahead of time. We can track the engagement. What happens with those can decide who we're going to call next, so that we're always putting our salespeople in front of the right person, right time, right content, right product. So content's a huge piece. Should be authentic, educational, and meaningful, right? You got to either make them laugh, it's got to help them grow, or it's got to share something new with them. So what are some of the content channels you guys should be looking at? Obviously your website, social media, webinars, blogs, podcasts, videos, testimonials, articles, email, white papers, infographics, and free billboard space. A lot of organizations are actually looking for content. So who's someone's platform that you can play on and leverage their audience, just like we are here today, to share your message, right? So there's a lot of podcasts that need a guest. There's a lot of magazines that need content writers. You've got your social media that you can be writing and playing on other people's platforms, doing it in groups, whether it's Facebook, whether it's a LinkedIn community. So where can you play on somebody else's audience and ultimately make it a win-win-win for everybody? All right, so the concept of free billboard space. Find every opportunity to build your brand and product awareness. Never waste a touch point with a potential prospect or client if you can help it. Some of this is from the office equipment industry where I was most familiar, but do we have a calendar link? So we've all read great things and they're like, well, how do I actually interact? Have a calendar link available so that if people love what you're putting out there, they can actually take advantage and try to meet with you. I book tons and tons and tons of meetings on my calendar links, okay? Your invoices, your social media, LinkedIn, all of these areas are free billboard space. When somebody calls into your organization, are you picking up the phone and at the end of what they called for, asking if they're familiar with the other products that you offer? If you've got texts that are going out to customers, are they sharing something about the other products that you offer and trying to bring in leads? Where are all the touch points in your organization that you guys could potentially be missing opportunities to cross-sell or talk about your products? So They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. Really, it's about inbound sales, content marketing in today's digital consumer, but it's, if we had to flip and put ourselves into the shoes of the consumer, would we like the process that we're putting them through? So there's a lot of very fragmented and frustrating sales processes in B2B. You want it to be super easy and seamless to do business with you. One example I talk about that everyone could, relate to is if you're on your phone and you have to fill in the information. So now you got to go up and grab your credit card from upstairs. There's a certain percentage of people that aren't back downstairs to make that purchase versus if it autofills for you, you hit one button and it's on your doorstep in 2 days. So where in your process with the buyer is there friction and things that would cause fall off in conversion rates, right? So even this going back and forth on a meeting time, that's causing friction. If they can't purchase from you on your website, that's causing friction. If you can't take a credit card, that's causing friction. Like, where are all the opportunities for the conversion to be lost? So we talk about getting out of obscurity, but one of the beautiful things about the world right now is, and never in the history of the world could you just have your own TV network or newspaper. You can today. It's called YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, etc. You have an opportunity, if you'll put the effort in, to put yourself out there in front of thousands of people every single day. Organizations in the last several decades paid thousands and thousands of dollars a month to have an opportunity just to be put out in front of everybody. You can go in front of a targeted audience today if you just want to put the effort in some of those mediums. So definitely take advantage of what's sitting out there and available to you already. Become omnipresent. The idea is, how do we surround the buyer so that wherever they're going, they keep seeing us. So they're seeing us on social media, then they get a call, then they get a gift from us. Here comes an email. Now they're seen on social media again. Then we're on an industry expert panel. pretty soon your social proof begins to rise and the trust with that consumer goes up because they continue to see you over and over and over again. So think about that person on social media that you've never met before, but you feel like you know who they are. So what are the 4 levels of action? There's retreat, do nothing, average, and massive. The most dangerous level of action is actually average because we believe we're doing something. Massive action is where we need to be residing. So how do we touch the most people in the most impactful way we can each and every day and go above and beyond? That extra 20% most of the time will get you 2 to 3 times the results. So I really encourage you guys to be looking into what level of action you and your team are taking. All right, so a couple of cool things here on the LinkedIn audience, but a lot of people don't know that you can actually go to My Network, add contacts on the left side, and upload a CSV of email addresses, and you could circumvent LinkedIn, actually add hundreds, if not thousands of people at once. And then the idea is, how do we get audience matching? So the people that we're selling and marketing to directly through the company are also seeing us on social media, and the people on social media are also seeing us and hearing from us on the marketing and sales side. So otherwise, you've got your more direct stuff going on over here in the company, but they're not seeing the soft nudges, the reminders. They're not feeling like they get to know you the way they would on social media, or vice versa. LinkedIn lead automation. So imagine you go to LinkedIn Sales Navigator or LinkedIn, the free version, pick out your exact target audience, set up a sequence. You can sequence up to 300 messages a day automated to your target audience, put some really good content in there, drop your calendar link so they can book themselves onto your calendar, push that out. And now all of a sudden you've got the exact audience that you wanted booking time on your calendar with you. All right, so I'll stop right there. Any questions on attraction, guys? All right, perfect. We'll go into nurturing the relationship. So the importance of follow-up, 48% of opportunities actually never get followed up on, and 64% of companies admit they do not have an organized way to nurture a lead. So we call it the 365-day follow-up process as Grant Cardone licensees, which is, what is the journey that your consumer or potential prospect is going through over the first year of being in contact with your organization? And do we have that all systemized out? Is day 1 a text message? Day 2 is a video follow-up. Day 3 is an email. Day 5, we're sending chocolates. Day 10, we're calling them. Day 20, we're gonna cold FaceTime. Like, what are the things that are gonna happen every single time for a potential consumer that you have your eyes on, that you think you can help and would like to do business with? Okay. The average company takes almost 3 days to follow up on a lead. Contacting a customer the first 5 to 10 minutes increases your chance of closing by up to 900 times. Okay. This is huge, guys. Speed to lead is a major impact on how much business you're going to be able to bring in and the growth of revenue that you're going to have. So again, systemize your approach to follow-up. That's really what the 365-day follow-up counter is about. This is where automation helps. So if your average sales rep's making 20 calls a day, true sales calls, B2B, what if we could take and we could turn that into, say, 2,000 to 3,000. If we could do 1,200 dials on Connect and Sell, 500 emails went out on a sequence through HubSpot, 300 messages went out on a sequence through LinkedIn. We were posting on social media. We had marketing touches going on, paid ads. Pretty soon, we could be 2,000 to 3,000 touches in a day from a single rep versus 20. That might not make a difference day 1 or week 1, but you do that over 2 years and your competitor doesn't, you're going to absolutely dominate that marketplace. So some things that already can be done with automation: calls, right? So we talked about the 6 going out. You can use local presence dialing. You can be calling mobile numbers, right? So you can automate the list building, automate the actual dialing, automate the voicemails. There's 2 ways. You can either hang up and you're dropping the voicemails 1-to-1, or you can actually, with something like a Sly broadcast, you could take 1,000 mobile phone numbers and drop a voicemail on all of them at one time. And then what happens is they start calling back, and now you have lead generation. Text messages, we all know those can be automated. Emails, same things, but it's not just about automating emails. It's when are we automating and what are we automating? So you can trigger different emails to be automated at different points in the rev gen process. The second piece that's important is to know who's opening the emails, how many times they've opened the emails, did they click a link, when did they open the email? All of that can be automated now. So if you're not aware of that, it's a huge opportunity for you to increase your business. So if you're already spending $10,000 a month on a sales rep with commissions and else, take another 1,000 and you can turn that sales rep into 10 sales reps. Okay. Gift giving is one of the coolest things that can actually be automated. So you could build in your process for 365-day follow-up calendar. Day 10, we're always going to send them a chocolate boot and say we'd really like to have an opportunity to get our foot in the door. And that can be automated in a workflow in HubSpot. So as soon as it's been 10 days, automatically sends that out. All right, so a couple things we can talk about here, but sequences and workflows for sales and marketing, email automation, email tracking. Again, see who's engaging with your content, sell closest to the sun, number of opens, clicks by contact. Those can create active lists because you can actually take the people that open emails, create an ad audience, automated, and then those are the people that get the message on LinkedIn or Facebook ads. And so now you're hitting them everywhere. Then if they engage there, it could come right back through and end up on the call queue for the sales rep. So now the first time you're touching it is when that rep picks up the phone off of a connect and sell dial and just sitting there and the person picks up. Everything else could have happened automated without anybody touching it. Okay. Landing pages and offers. Have a way for them to engage, have a way for them to interact and purchase and convert with you. Knowing your ROI, tasks, queues, calendar links, chats, all these things can be automated, right? So you can build a bot in HubSpot for what you want to happen when people chat with you. Calendars, you can build those out and you can build automation around the calendar links. Again, one of the conversions is one thing to book 10 meetings, how many people show up on the meeting? Well, if we build some automation around that, that can help us. Use video, so you can use video and then just drop it into an email template if you'd like. A lot of people don't know, but you can actually do a video right within LinkedIn messaging. So that's a unique way to get to a prospect that they probably don't see every day. So you just open it, you hit the little paper clip that says video, hit that, record your video and send it to the prospect. Guarantee you're going to get some meetings doing that. Text. So the open rates on a good email might be about 20%. Now with some of the changes in privacy policies, spam, those are getting harder to come by, but text message has a 98% open rate. Okay. So I wouldn't abuse it because it's a very personal way to interact, but it can be very powerful too. Okay. Get creative. So we actually partnered with an organization, Grove Cookie Company, and they'll send out these cookies. You see that QR code on the top of the box? That QR code, if a client would scan that, sends them right to my scheduling page. So we send those out because it's a way to get past gatekeepers because they're going to get that on their desk. They hit scan and now boom, we've got an appointment set from those cookies that we sent. And they're thinking that this isn't something everybody do. So I believe the little card there says that if you want help fully baking your sales and marketing processes, give Quantum a call. And then again, they can book a meeting on that QR code. All right. Some examples of what we've done. We've sent an office Chick-fil-A and said, when you're ready to eat your competition for lunch, give us a call. We've sent Dairy Queen Blizzards and said, I know sometimes when it's time to make a decision, we all freeze up. So those are pretty unique, fun ideas. People usually like them, respect them, and it definitely gets you the call back, if not getting you the business. All right. Always include a call to action. Great content doesn't mean as much if there's not a way for them to do business with you, right? So we've read a lot of books, but we probably didn't call anybody to do the consulting with us after we read the book. There's got to be a call to action, okay? Always be collecting contact data and information. That's obviously key. All right, so I'll stop right now after nurture and just let anybody who'd like to ask a question, go ahead and ask a question. All right. Now that let's see here. Yeah, Brad, this is recorded. I sure hope so. Oh, maybe it's not.
It's on Facebook Live. No, it's recorded.
Says resume recording or stop recording. Now the rest of it will be. All right. We'll probably just, what we'll do is we'll probably just record this on our own and make it super fluid. And then that way it'll just be nice and clean, and we'll just go through and record it for you guys. Okay. So convert to client. Keeping track of your deals, pipeline management can actually automate pipeline management. So if there's always something that should happen in a certain stage of your deal pipeline, we can automate that. And whether it's something that would go to the client, whether it's something that go to the internal team, all of that can be taken care of and can be automated in today's world. So pretty cool stuff that can happen. I always say this part of the process should be pretty frictionless if we've done all the work up front. Asking for the deal. Number one reason that people don't get business is they never asked for the deal. Okay, so it sounds really obvious, but if you think about it, it's the point that is the most anxiety for the salesperson and the most anxiety for the consumer or the prospect. One of the things I talk about is get a tie down before you present your information to them about the final proposal. That can help you eliminate the friction at the moment, or make it up front, which is really what Grant, preaches. Put that information up front and just say, at any time, if you've seen enough to make a decision, let me know and we can move forward. And here's the investment. All right, so we talk about reducing friction, right? No hidden fees, no fine print surprises, simplified checkout process, payment options, and be available and ready. You'd be amazed at the number of organizations that don't pick up the phone, and you can barely get a hold of them when you're trying to buy from them. All right, customer understands timeline for delivery, is promptly informed of any change. So we're almost beginning to get into the wow part of it, which is the client experience. And to be successful, what are we doing to systemize that approach so that we don't have any drop? And then again, you can automate a lot of these pieces so that if something's been in a certain stage for a couple of days, we're automatically emailing a customer, letting them know that we're still working on their behalf. And that way they never go a week or two without hearing from us. Does every member of your team know what to do once an order is received, etc.? So these are more internal processes, but again, really having a process, setting up workflows, setting up automation to make all of this happen for you. There's so much efficiency that can be created. If your business isn't mostly automated at this point, you're missing a huge opportunity to improve. And I would really encourage you to reach out to us, of course, but even if it's not us, get some help automating your business. There's so much that can be done. And if you have an expert take you along that journey, it's going to pay for itself 10 times over, probably in the first 90 days. And then the last piece here that we'll go through is just, how do you wow your clients, right? So that amazing client experience. And I ask people to think about, give me an example of a salesperson or a buying process that absolutely blew you away in the last year. And unfortunately, most people can't name any processes that have done that for them. And when there is one, they always remember it. And I say, okay, so who's the realtor, or what's the restaurant, or what experience was it that was so good that you remember it here? Is your experience as good as that one, right? Because sometimes we're just trying to go as fast as we can and get through the day, and we're running around, we're wearing different hats. But the best customers are the ones you keep, and then you can get repeat, referral, and cross-sold business. So how do we stay present in front of them? Well, emails, calls, text, videos, right? How do we keep bringing them really great content? We always talk about at Quantum, how do we put our teeth into the client and make ourselves super sticky? So we actually keep adding value. Like now our clients are getting sales training for free. If they're a corporate client, they're getting to be on our weekly calls, getting to be on our weekly HubSpot calls. They get to go to any of our boot camps for free. So this thing they bought for X amount of dollars a month, say $5,000 a month, all of a sudden they get all of that plus these other 6 things they didn't even sign up for. But guess what? It's harder for them to leave our organization now too, because there's other sticking points that we have within the organization to help them be successful. All right. So we talk a little bit about, good versus bad customer experience, top indicators of poor customer experience, so long wait times. Again, how can we cut some of this stuff out and make it much easier? Even if it's something like I call an airline and they call me back 20 minutes later, but I didn't have to wait on the phone on hold. That's a lot better experience than the one that I have to wait on hold for. All right, so customer satisfaction surveys, measure the customer effort, right? Analyze your churn rates, test different things, build community, build personalization into doing business with your organization so that they feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. Your customer experience should be defined and repeatable. And again, use automation where you can. Obviously, you want to cross-sell and upsell your current customers. So again, if you're not asking for referrals, if you're not asking for cross-sold businesses, you're probably missing a huge opportunity. One of the big areas in the industry that I came from was, they would have thousands of customers, but they always struggled to cross-sell these other areas. And it's because they didn't have this process down and really documented and allowed that segmentation to happen. But the relationships and the dollars were already there and they were being spent with somebody else. So super challenging and frustrating for that organization, but something that can be easily fixed. All right, and then I'll kind of just stop here, see if anybody has any questions yet. All right, we'll go into some needle movers. So know your sales math. And again, this kind of is just a small sample of, if you're up here and you start leveraging a better process and then you put technology on it, these are the types of results you can see. So you can see about 11 times the performance. And it's just sales math. So how many people would I have to be in front of? What are the conversion ratios? How many emails do I need to send? What are the open rates? If I send that many emails, how many meetings do I get? If I have a meeting, how many people show up on the meeting? If people show up on a meeting, how many turn into an opportunity? How many of those turn into a close? How many of those end up in cross-sold, repeat, or referral business, right? And obviously there's other KPIs, but know your sales math. Revenue sources. Do you have something for everybody? Can people buy from you or get into your ecosystem at different levels? And one of those levels can honestly include free. And once you get them into your ecosystem, you can keep moving them up the product chain and ultimately grow your revenue that way. Some tech stack considerations. We talked a lot about these. Digideck is really amazing. Digideck allows you to go and basically see who's looking at your presentation real time, what page they're looking at, and you can even start to message with the prospect while they're looking at the presentation. You can take tracking codes and tie that right back into HubSpot and kick off automated workflows as well. So again, back to, if you're not leveraging a really amazing tech stack, you're completely missing the boat in today's world. Huge opportunities that are sitting there for your business right now. Special offer, if you wanted to scan, it'll take you right to the page, but we're offering for $197 a month. We're going to cover a lot of this stuff, plus sales stuff on Wednesday nights. And it'll be for an hour. If you're not able to make it, we'll record it. And if we don't remember to record, we'll re-record. So this to me is a really good entryway for people to start doing business with Quantum, whether you're an independent producer or if your organization wants to send a few salespeople. So we'll be using Grant Cardone's sales methodology and thought processes, goal setting, et cetera. We'll get into HubSpot. We'll get into other automations, how to leverage LinkedIn. But a lot of great things. Again, $197 month to month. Scan that, sign up, and we'd love to have you there. All right. So how do I let everybody talk? Just a moment here. Okay, guys, I've got it set up so people can actually talk. Does anybody have any questions? All right, I'll ask a question if we want to put it in the chat. What was the biggest thing in this presentation that stood out to you guys? Brad, I'll pick on you because I know you already. What did you like when you say you're learning some things?
I think the biggest thing can you hear me, Sean?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. I think the biggest thing for me is, so I'm already on a solution-based model, where I have been for years. That's typically why, my GP is a little bit higher than my counterparts are. But, the thing is, I like that this is going to be able to enhance that for me and drive even more revenue. That's what I'm seeing with what you're presenting. I know we've been talking for a few months on this, and we got some obstacles with the CRM, but man, I can't wait to go full throttle with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's really amazing what can be done. Zach, James, Jeff, Ashfaq, can I answer any questions for you guys? We have just a little bit of time here, so I'd love to get into real questions, real scenarios, things that are on your mind. How to select one, or doesn't it matter? Okay, so James has a question on the automation tools. We've went out, and one of the reasons you work with somebody like Quantum is it can be pretty overwhelming when you get out into the automation world and what works, what doesn't. We did a lot of that research and found, best in class. I obviously have my own consultants that I work with, guys that have wrote books on the topic of automation and sales automation. So we leverage HubSpot, Connect and Sell, Connected, Seamless AI, Zoom Info, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, Digideck. Those are some of the partners we went out and chose for the reason that they're best in class. Doesn't mean there's not other ones out there that can get the job done, but that's something that we help organizations walk through as well.
Hey, Sean, just to follow up on that. So last year we went down the HubSpot route, and after 6 months, the implementation failed. We went to HubSpot and did a whole sales and marketing piece, was given one of their platinum HubSpot partners. And I can only assume that the HubSpot partner undersold the solution to us. I mean, we're an MSP, and they undersold the solution to us. And after 6 months, we didn't have any of the campaigns or any activity that had kind of been given to us. The kind of renewal for HubSpot expired a couple of weeks ago, and I've been contacted by HubSpot about renewing, and I'm saying, well, I'm 12 months down the road and don't have a sensible solution. And now I'm back to kind of square one again of trying to reassess the automation tool, trying to get a sales and marketing partner in place, or thinking about recruiting somebody and taking it in-house.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I hear that sometimes, right? Where people have bought the tool and there's so much that can be done, they don't know where to start, or if you don't have it, and I don't know who the partner is, so I won't speak to the partner, but to have someone with business acumen, that's one of the biggest differences. Like with Quantum, I'm not on here just to sell Quantum, but is being a previous CEO in the industry and working as a sales leader, and I had a sales company before as well that merged in, is I have that business acumen and I actually know what we want to do. So it's like a computer programmer, right? It's one thing to know how to get in and code, but what am I trying to make the code actually do and why? And those are the pieces that get lost sometimes when it comes to the technology. So I'll give you like a quick example. Organizations will go out and they'll do like an initial client meeting. They'll do a quarterly business review, and they'll take that information. It'll end up like in the notes section, or maybe on a PDF or something. Well, what I did is I said, well, why don't we create a landing page with a customized form? As soon as we're done, we fill out all the information in that form throughout the meeting instead of on a fillable PDF or whatever. Hit submit. Now all of the data goes into structured fields, which then can help us create, if you're familiar with HubSpot, then James, active lists, the segmentation, trigger workflows based on, different criterias. So those are some of the things that come with having the business understanding as well as the technology understanding in sales and marketing, so that it all actually moves together. So we work with several companies who bought HubSpot, not from us, but we've come in now to help them either fix it or actually fully utilize and engage it. So a ton of our clients are exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah, I'd love to too. If you, Heidi, do you have James' information? She should be able to talk.
Yeah, sorry, took me a minute to get off mute. I know we have his email, James, if you want to be contacted any different way, please let me know. I see a request here from, I don't know if I'm going to say the name right, but Ashbach as well. So we will absolutely follow up. Again, we'll follow up by email, but if you want us to follow up any different way, if you can message that in the chat, we'd be happy to do that.
Something I just did here, Heidi, is I put my meeting link inside of the chat there too. So you guys can just go to my
Perfect.
calendar right now and book, or you can use the QR code if you want to scan. Zach or Jeff, any questions from you guys? All right, so we put that in there. All right, any other questions? Otherwise, I'll give you guys back about 12 minutes of your day here. Real key takeaways to me are that there's a lot of opportunity to improve business practices and ultimately put your salespeople in front of a lot more opportunities, which is exactly what you need to obviously grow your revenue. So cool. All right. I appreciate you all and look forward to meeting with some of you after the call in the next week or so and see if we can help your organization.
Sure.
Thank you guys.